You are about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show, 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So in the news, I'm sure you've seen the headlines where Las Vegas, Nevada, which is to me, the entertainment and most fun capital in the country. I love our capital, D.C., but to me, Las Vegas, City of Lights, entertainment capital of the world, is having a slump. Now, usually in the dead of the heat, the dead of the summer, we do not get as much tourism as we would because it's hot. It's hot. It's a dry heat, so it's a lot more comfortable a heat than in places that have humidity. In fact, I remember being so hot in Iowa a few weeks ago that I couldn't wait to get to Vegas and cool down. That's how much I don't like humidity. So, there's worse places to be. But the Las Vegas tourism has dropped to the tune of 11.3% in June, down 7.3% for the year. Now, it fell 11.3% from last June. So even though we're looking at month to month, we're looking at apples to apples on that one, and tourism has dropped drastically. Hotel occupancy fell to 78.7% in June, down from 85.2%. And June is still not the dead of the summer. The dead of the summer out here is like July, August. And so if we don't hit our numbers in June, which is when most schools are out of session and most people are out and ready to start their vacation, it kind of shows it's a marker and a metric of where we are going, a harbinger of how we are doing in terms of tourism. Now, I bring this up because I live in Southern Nevada. I live in Las Vegas. And for those of you looking for a great place to have a great vacation, our resorts are amazing. Our pools are amazing. But I'm not going to lie. It's overpriced. It's ridiculously overpriced. And I have been in Las Vegas off and on since the 80s. And the reason why is because my parents didn't have a lot of money. And when they wanted to go on vacation, if we couldn't afford to go to California or we couldn't afford to fly anywhere, which we rarely did because we didn't have the money, we would drive to Vegas. And we were able to stay at the Circus or someplace for $29 or $30 a night. And then the buffet was $1.99 or something. And so we were able to do a cheap vacation, get out of Dodge, hit the pool, and be able to entertain ourselves very inexpensively. Las Vegas with their resort corridor. Remember, they didn't want to call it the Strip. They wanted to change it to resort corridor, but it's like, no, it's called the Strip. We still call it the Strip. Not because people strip, just it's the Strip. It's the strip of lights and all the big hotels. The resorts we have are exquisite. I mean, these resorts can beat Dubai, Paris. I mean, we have some real nice resorts. But the problem is it's ridiculously expensive. So prices should technically drop. And I looked up prices for next week. Let's say you want to come out next weekend. I mean, if you come out during the week, it could be a little cheaper. If you want to get a room at the MGM Grand, it's telling me it's $319 a night. Luxor, $230 a night. Fountain Blue, almost $400 a night. Palms Place, $200 a night. And you could probably find some cheaper rates. And I'm sure prices should be going down, especially if tourism is down. But one thing that tourists can't stand is you see the rate, and then you get the hotel room. Okay, so here, I found the Strat, $114 a night. Okay, that is cheaper. Still expensive, but it's cheaper. Now, I click on the button. It brings me hotels.com, Expedia. You should have checked Trivago. Now it's already at $155 to $168 a night. Now you click it. You have your occupancy, tax. You have your, I don't know, tourism tax. You have your resort fees. So now you're spending an extra 50, 60 bucks, sometimes more per night. Then what about free parking? That's gone. Most places don't have free parking anymore. Why not? You have to pay for parking. So here you are thinking you're going to do a quick getaway to Vegas. And by the time all the fees pile on, you're like, I could have gone to Hawaii. Now, going to Hawaii is getting ridiculously expensive. A lot of these places are. That's why my husband and I start camping a lot. We got an RV. We're like, let's just go where we want to go. Let's take our RV and camp and park and then, drive to where we want. But Las Vegas is getting expensive. And don't get me started on the food. You go online and you're like, what does TripAdvisor say? Where should you eat? So family will come in or friends will come in and say, Daliah, I'm in Vegas. Let's go. And I'm like, oh, let me check my wallet. And they want to go to Cut. They want to go to Bonami, Bonami. They want to go to these places. And I don't blame them. Let's go to the Eiffel Tower restaurant. And I'm like, I got to pay the mortgage. And there's people that pay these prices. These are $85 to $115 steaks. And then you have to buy the sides. And then you have to buy. It's ridiculous, the pricing. And people are wondering why tourism is going down. Well, if you're going to stick it to them with the food, you're going to stick it to them with the room rate, you're going to stick it to them with all the extra fees, then you're going to stick it to them with the parking. By the way, now a lot of these hotels now will check-ins at 4 and check-outs at 11 a.m. So you're thinking you just want to go overnight. Well, now I got to spend 2 nights. It's not practical for the average American family. So you're attracting people that have a lot of money, but you're not attracting middle America. And people want something to show for it. Now, we have great food. These restaurants, the food is great. The entertainment is great. The experience of walking around on the strip, it's amazing. But if Vegas is worried about its slump in tourism, they got to do something with the prices. Because these prices are ridiculous. 1-877 Doc Daliah, don't go away.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Lisa Wolf here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So Ozzy Osbourne's cause of death has been revealed. Even though he was diagnosed with Parkinson's years ago, he died last week at the age of 76 from a heart attack. This is according to his death certificate obtained by the New York Times and The Sun. The death certificate reportedly listed Osbourne's cause of death as, quote, out of hospital cardiac arrest, acute myocardial infarction, and coronary artery disease, and Parkinson's disease with autonomic dysfunction. So they list, on our death certificates, they list, God forbid none of us get one anytime soon, the immediate cause of death and then contributing factors. So the Parkinson's, the coronary artery disease, obviously. Myocardial infarction is an infarction or lack of blood flow to the myocardium. Myo means muscle, cardio, heart muscle. So he died July 22nd, actually not last week, 2 weeks ago. He died July 22nd after performing his farewell show with Black Sabbath. Seeing him die of a heart attack, it was just, crushing. Gifted artist, beloved by so many, and seeing his family go through this, not easy. But his Parkinson's disease was diagnosed, even though it was diagnosed in 2019, he might have had it before, but they talked about it. And Parkinson's could cause muscle tremors, decreased movement, rigidity, loss of balance, loss of autonomic movements, and unfortunately, it can also contribute to heart disease. Now, we know that he, had a pretty non-healthy lifestyle in his younger years that could have also contributed to it. But hopefully he didn't suffer and he wasn't in pain. And our hearts and prayers are with his family. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. We have a 9-year-old girl who was grabbed by a sea lion, bitten, and dragged underwater. This was when she was at surf camp in California. Coral Olson told KSBW she was surfing with her brother and sister at Asilomar State Beach near Monterey. A sea lion comes up. She goes, it was right next to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, something really bad is going to happen. And it bit her. I mean, these sea lions, they look so adorable, but boy, are they rough. She said, we were pretty deep in the ocean. The sea lion went under my instructor's leg, and then it came up to me and then bit me, and I got dragged underwater. She felt pain, and then she started screaming. Her instructor, Alex Demarginac, rushed, and she and her siblings got her out of the water, got her to safety. There was an on-duty lifeguard nearby, and the instructor had both kids under each arm and one hanging off of his neck. They all made it in. But, we talk about shark attacks, sea lions. And, we see these sea lions and we're like, oh, how cute. And, and I'm looking at the wounds. This was a pretty bad attack. But the fact that she got dragged underwater. And so sea lion bites, they're rare. But these animals can become aggressive. They think that could be happening is one thing that could be making them aggressive is the domoic acid poisoning from a toxic algae bloom. And the sea lion might have been territorial and didn't want surfers there. So you always want to give animals their space. You could be curious, but don't get too close. In San Diego, there's an area where you have all these sea lions that sit there and just hang out and sun, and they do their own thing, and all of us like to come and take pictures and selfies with them. But I'm like, guys, be careful. There's a lot of them. And these guys move fast, even on land. So I'm glad she's okay, but something to be aware of. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So one of our listeners has called in asking for us to talk about vitamin B toxicity. I'm glad this was brought up because every now and then we talk about our vitamins and our supplements. You don't usually see vitamin B toxicity with our diet. But I am seeing people, just pound vitamin B in supplements. especially if they're trying to avoid getting sick, and they could, unfortunately, reach toxicity. The upper limit, we don't recommend over 100 milligrams per day. If you go over that, it could damage your nerves. We see this in the form of peripheral neuropathy, where you could get, weakness, numbness, tingling in the hands and feet. Vitamin B toxicity could also cause nerve damage. It can affect your muscles, cause muscle weakness, muscle pain, nausea. You could even have skin lesions, GI issues. We call it ataxia, where you lose coordination. So we don't recommend people overdo it with B vitamins. And for B6, we do not want you to go over 100 milligrams per day if you can. That's kind of the upper limit of safe. And so, I understand that a lot of people want to, and I'm not saying our listener, he just wanted me to talk about it, but, many of us do not feel we're getting the nutrition in our food. People will always ask doctor, what's a good supplement to take? And some doctors will say, well, if you're on a statin, take CoQ10, take your fish oil, make sure you're getting your vitamin D. But for the most part, you don't really hear a lot of doctors say, take your vitamins. And I don't think the USPSTF recommends a multivitamin each day. I don't believe they do. One of the reasons for that is we don't know what you're getting. And there's many multivitamins that have different dosings. But we have, as physicians, seen issues where people take too much. We've seen with vitamin C, these vitamin C tablets, people getting kidney stones. You don't usually get kidney stones from eating an orange or having some kiwi or eating a banana. But because of the chalkiness of some of these vitamin C supplements, you could give yourself a kidney stone if the body can't filter it correctly and it starts to solidify. Calcium supplements, there's been studies saying calcium supplements have been linked to heart disease. Now, we want people to increase their calcium if they're at risk for osteoporosis, because the lower calcium could affect your parathyroid, and then your body might try to grab calcium it needs from your bones. So the reason why we supplement is we want to make sure you have enough calcium so your body's hormone system, like at the parathyroid, doesn't decide to leach it from the bones. The problem is if you overtake calcium supplements, that could affect the heart. So, and also cause kidney stones. So we want to make sure you're getting the supplements you need, but we also want to make sure you're not overdoing it. B6 is pyridoxine. And it's a part of many of our B complexes that might have B12 and niacin. And it is a vital vitamin. These vitamins are vital for our amino acid metabolism, our glucose metabolism, our hemoglobin synthesis, our gene expression, our neurotransmitter production. But are we taking in too much? And unfortunately, if you do, your body will react. So let me just quickly look up some foods where you could get vitamin B6, because I always like you getting it in natural forms. Don't get mad at me, but liver always tops the list of getting your B vitamins. But beef, chicken, pork also can provide you B6 and vitamins. Fish like salmon and tuna, eggs, milk. Also, a lot of plants will give you vitamin B. Avocado, spinach, bananas. Bananas actually are fantastic. I'm not a big banana eater. I don't like to eat bananas. They have to be not bruised, not mushy, but I can cut them up into little slices and I'll eat those. Those are yummy. I just don't like eating a banana. Potatoes also have B6, nuts like peanuts and walnut, seeds like sunflower seeds, whole grains. We know that fortified cereals may have it, but again, I don't want, I want to make sure that people are taking, as things more naturally than fortified. If you're going to take fortified, then you might as well be taking vitamins. But the reason why we have vitamins is because if you are in a position where you can't get the nutrition and you can't get your 5 to 9 fruits and vegetables a day, which many of us don't, there's another method to get your vitamins. But these vitamins are not in its most natural form. This is why some of the studies on fish oil have been, most of them are beneficial, but you see these studies saying, well, the fish oil doesn't necessarily prevent the heart attack. But if you're eating a diet, low mercury, but, good with fish and vegetables, you do have better heart health. So if you are going to supplement, do so because you're planning on eating healthy, but you might have had a bad day. Now, the argument people say is, well, our vegetables are now leached of vitamins. There's very few vitamins now in our vegetables. How do you know your particular vegetable doesn't have that much? So, have doctors check your levels, check your health, and if they think you need to take a B complex, follow what they recommend. 1-877 Doc Daliah.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So apparently there is a zoo that wants to feed their big animals and predators. So they have asked patrons to donate their unwanted pets. If you have a pet that you don't want, that has maybe done too much pee-pee house recently, they are asking for that pet so they could feed their animals. This has caused a lot of what are they talking about? So don't worry, it's not an American zoo. This is a zoo in Denmark, and they are appealing to the public for their small pets that they don't want. The Aalborg Zoo is asking for healthy and live chickens, rabbits, guinea pigs, and more to feed their predators such as the Eurasian lynx. I guess on social media, they said they are trying to mimic the natural food chain of the animals housed there for the sake of both animal welfare and professional integrity. I as much as I like integrity, I have no problem you not being professionally integrative if you don't feed them my pets. I'm completely fine with that. Now, they are not going to forcefully take your pet. They're asking for you to donate. That means you're not going to get paid. They have offered assurances that the donated pets will not be kicking and screaming and scratching and clawing as they are being lowered into the mountain. See, I envisioned Jurassic Park. Remember Jurassic Park? There was a goat, and they just drop off the goat, and the goat's like, meh. And then the Tyrannosaurus Rex comes, or the velociraptors eat them, or whatever the heck happens in Jurassic Park. They say they're going to euthanize the pets prior to feeding them to the animals. Yeah, but see, the reason why they were live in Jurassic Park is because they said these animals need to hunt. So I thought they were trying to make it, more to mimic the natural food chain. The natural food chain is there's a little bit of a race or a chase to it. But they say they're going to gently euthanize, according to the staff. The zoo in northern Denmark, and this is being reported by The Independent. The zoo explained if you have a healthy animal that needs to be given away for various reasons, feel free to donate it to us. After being euthanized, the animals will be used as fodder. They say this way nothing goes to waste, and we ensure natural behavior, nutrition, and well-being of our predators. Well, again, it's not natural behavior if they are just handed a dead animal. So I hope they are euthanizing them. But so this was online. They also accompany a picture of a wild cat, which I think is the Sphinx. And the cat is sitting there looking kind of hungry. I'm not sure. I can't tell. Not the Sphinx, Lynx. And so a lot of people are looking at that going, are you kidding me? Yeah, it is. No, I think it's a lynx. The Eurasian lynx. It looks hungry and it looks mean. I don't want it to eat my little snowball or sashi. If you do donate a horse, you will be eligible for a tax break. You're going to donate your horse. I'm not making this stuff up. This is even ABC News. The zoo is asking for people to donate their unwanted horses and pets. Small animals can be donated on weekdays from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. with no more than 4 at a time without an appointment. Oh, my gosh. See, I once had a house full of 7 pets. You know, and can you imagine taking a wheelbarrow, you know, of everybody saying, shut up, you guys are going to the farm, although it's now the zoo. I threaten the animals all the time. I would never, make good on it, but so like I was out of town, and the cat, every time I go out of town, the cat decides to poop on my bed. This isn't Shaky Boo. Shaky Boo has already left us and gone to the farm. This is the other cat that is now following in its footsteps, and it's a girl. Usually girls don't pee and poop on your personal stuff, but she does. And so she takes a dump on my bed. I have to cover the bed with tarp, and if Corey's sleeping on it, he's got to. They just got to cover the bed. And so I told her that she'll go to the farm with Shaky Boo. I have no problem doing that. And I'm sick of you pooping on the bed. Meow. So she made up with me, but I could not imagine giving her up to the zoo. But apparently, 4 at a time. If you do want to donate more than 4 of your pets, you got to make an appointment. The zoo can also arrange a pickup and delivery service for those willing to donate more than 4. Any horse donated to the zoo has to have a horse passport. And this donation comes with an opportunity for tax deduction of the horse's value, which is calculated based on its weight. Right? So is this normal? It's funny because it's not funny. It's sad, but it's being reported on. Like, this is something that happens. I've never owned a zoo. I don't know much about zoos. I visited zoos. I've seen the penguins fed fish. So, I think was it the San Diego? I forget which zoo. So you do, see animals eat animals, right? I get that, but they're dead fish. So I'm sure they have to get the fish from somebody. But maybe this is a normal thing. Maybe zoos do rely on people saying, I am done with the pee-pee house. You're done. You're out of here. You're going to the zoo. But here's the thing. I think they want young, healthy animals. One thing I'm noticing that cities struggle with is euthanasia with pets. And many people are concerned about how much it costs to go to a vet and have a pet euthanized is sometimes too expensive for the average person. And so maybe something like this happens a lot more than we don't realize because people have animals that need to be put down. They're older, they're disabled, and they don't want to pay for the vet visit. So they want to find an opportunity to euthanize them for free. I shudder to think what some people might be doing with their pets on their own because they can't afford euthanasia. So I'd like to look a little deeper into people's options. I remember after COVID, some of you had reached out saying, I need to put my animal down. Where do we go? And we have the Animal Foundation in Southern Nevada, and in your neck of the woods, in your cities, I would definitely call the local Animal Foundation or SPCA, your local or call your local veterinarian and say, look, I can't afford to bring them to you. What are other options? But I would not recommend the zoo. Also, I don't think they want pets that are old and sick. They want meaty. Like, I got 2 kitty cats, one who's 15 and the other who's 9. And boy, do they have big tushies. I mean, they have, because they eat the dog food. The cats eat the dog food and the dog eats the cat food. I don't know. I have science diet for the dog. I only do a little aliquot of a small amount of, I limit the food, but somehow they each get into each other's food. Don't ask how. That's just what they do. And I think it's also a territorial issue. But my cats, they're meaty. I mean, they could feed, their tushies are so big, they could probably feed a lynx or some of these predators for a week. They got that much meat on them. So I think they're in high demand. So I need to protect them. In fact, we have owls that fly around our backyard. They perch there. Our house abuts a park, and they sit in the tree in the park and they look, and because my cats, one of my cats has like a tummy that droops, and I don't know why some cats just do that. They, maybe because she's not working on her muscle. And I see the owl look at her wanting to grab her. And I'm like, get your tushy back inside. Get your tushy out of the outside. So, yeah, but for those of you that want to donate your pet to Denmark, wow. 1-877 Doc Dolly.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit, and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
We are back on Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dolly, 1-877 DOCDALI. One of our listeners is asking me if I am afraid and nervous about going to Israel with all the tension going on right now. And it's a good question. There's always tension. There's always issues. There's never a safe time to go because there's always, sadly, terrorists and people that want to cause mayhem and annihilate Israel and blow it off the face of the earth, sadly. So, but I actually think it's my duty to go down there because I'm taking my mom. And if there is anything that would scare Hamas out of the region, it's probably my mom. I mean, I'm sure just 5 minutes of her in the region, people are going to be like, you know what, we're out. That's enough. So I think we might see, world peace if I could. I mean, it's going to be a rough trip on me, but she'll finally get to see Israel, and she still wants to go. I'm leaving it up to her. If she says she's scared, but she's not scared. She probably knows she's got, some years left on this earth, and she wants to do what she wants to do. She's been losing her eyesight, so she wants to see as much as she could see. So I'll take her down there, and if we have to, go to a bomb shelter, if we have to, we'll do the best we can. But I'm really excited about going there. But I'm really, really excited about seeing if that works. 5 minutes of my mom bugging everybody's butt. See what happens. So we'll keep you posted on that. But thank you. Great question. We have a report from the Coast Guard looking at the Titan submersible implosion that happened in June of 2023. And it was preventable, as many of us assumed, especially when we saw that the video game controller that the CEO was using to control the submersible. But the implosion of the Titanic-bound submersible that was going to explore the Titanic, that killed 5 people, was quote-unquote preventable. And according to the Coast Guard report, they said it was fueled by its inadequate design and a toxic workplace culture. How many of us are nodding, going, yep, I've worked in toxic workplaces, and honestly, bad things happen. Well, I couldn't stand working in places where something needed to be fixed, and I said, look, I'll fix it. Nobody has to get in trouble. Let me fix it. And they wouldn't let me fix it. I mean, these are things that happen all the time, and I don't know how to, I wish I could fix toxic workplace cultures. And unfortunately, the politics comes into play. That's like, when you hear these politicians going, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to, give in to the lobbyists. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to, and I'm thinking about, I'm going to run for office and do the same thing. To hell with the lobbyists, to hell with, what the, establishment wants. I'm going to do what needs to be done, what needs to be right. And then you find you can't get stuff done. And then you have to start playing the game. And that's, it's frustrating. But when you're talking about safety, when you're talking about being, feet below the water surface, I mean, hundreds of feet, the danger, you got to use some sense. So the report is a 335-page report that was released August 5th and said Titan, the 22-foot-long submersible, was made of carbon fiber. It imploded on June 18th of 2023. They say because of factors largely in the hands of the company that operated at OceanGate. The report said OceanGate's inadequate design, certification, maintenance, and inspection process for the Titan was to blame, according to USA Today. All 5 on board was killed. We believe instantly. We believe they probably didn't know what happened. It's crushing to think a father and son were on board, that when this happened. But OceanGate's founder was there, the CEO Stockton Rush, British billionaire Hamish Harding, French maritime expert Paul-Henri Nargolet, Pakistani businessman Shahzada Dawood, and his 19-year-old son Sulman Dawood. All dead. So according to the chair of the U.S. Coast Guard Marine Board of Investigation for Titan, said the marine casualty and the loss of 5 lives was preventable. The 2-year investigation has identified multiple contributing factors that led to this tragedy, providing valuable lessons learned to prevent a future occurrence. Now, I heard that the company OceanGate was still operating. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but I would think they would close up and never do this again. But the Coast Guard laid blame, saying there were protocols not followed for safety testing and maintenance, which I think we all could have assumed. And then for years before the implosion, OceanGate, quote, leveraged intimidation tactics, allowances for scientific operations, and the company's favorable reputation to evade regulatory scrutiny. Titan was not registered, certified, or inspected by any recognized organization. Had the CEO survived, he would have faced criminal charges. But he's dead too. He exhibited negligence that contributed to the deaths of 4 other individuals. They said it is important to note that the determination of whether any crime was committed would be made by the Department of Justice following its own investigation analysis, which will not occur in this instance due to the death of Mr. Rush. So reports document the final moments when Titan lost communications with the Polar Prince. The Polar Prince was the support ship and the rest of the expedition's crew. The expedition began June 16. The Polar Prince set sail from Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada. 2 days later, the Polar Prince arrived at the vicinity of the Titanic wreckage in the North Atlantic. Then the submersible launched. At 8 a.m., the 5 crew members boarded the submersible and are sealed into the vessel. That's the last time anybody saw them. 9:14, the Titan begins its free fall to the Titanic. Usually during the dives, the Titan would maneuver near the ocean's surface for a communications check. They failed to do so on its final descent. 9:28 a.m., there were abbreviated text messages that were used to communicate. The Titan crew confirmed that the vessel was descending at a rate of 33 meters, more than 100 feet a minute, by text. 9:53 a.m., the communication between the Titan and the Polar Prince was lost for about 15 minutes, prompting the research ship to send the message, "Do you see Polar Prince on your display?" 10:08 a.m., Titan sends a message K back to the Polar Prince, reestablishing communication, and then the vessel continues to send messages about its position. By 10:47, Titan sends a message saying it dropped to WTS weights, meaning it dropped their ballast weights to slow their descent. 10:47:08, okay, so this was like within 6 milliseconds, Titan sends an automated transmission recording its final location at a depth of 3,346 meters, just under 11,000 feet. When we scuba dive, we don't like to go anywhere below, oh my gosh, I think it's 80 feet. I think there's certain limits. I forget my classes. I know we definitely don't want to go 100, but I think 80 feet is the cutoff. And sadly, the submersible to see the Titanic wreckage was down 11,000 feet at 10:47:09 millisecond. So this was 5 milliseconds after dropping the weights. No, I'm sorry. I apologize. 10:47:09 seconds. Okay, so 7 seconds after dropping the weights, the Titan implodes. 2 seconds later, Titan communications and tracking team on the Polar Prince hear a bang emanating from the ocean surface. The investigation later correlated to the Titan's implosion. All communications and tracking with the Titan were lost. That night at 7:10 p.m., after conducting mission protocols to try to regain communication, the Polar Prince alerts the Canadian Coast Guard. 9 hours later, or 8.5 hours later, they alert the Coast Guard. Coast Guard directs the crew, and the Canadian Coast Guard alerts the U.S. Coast Guard. I got to tell you, that was an absolute mess, so tragic. Could have been prevented. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away. Hey guys, it's Dr. Daliah. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our fantasy football pocket guide for beginners found on Amazon or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's Fantasy Football Pocket Guides for Beginners. Don't be left out.
Increase fuel economy up to 7.9% with Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme, the solution to maximize your engine's performance and fuel economy. Whether you're driving a sports car or a daily commuter, Gasoline Extreme is specially formulated with PEA to deep clean. Don't settle for an average driving experience. Upgrade to Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme and go further on each tank. Order now on Amazon or HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.